Greetings, Hallowmaniacs. It's Steph here, and we are in lovely Las Vegas, and we wanted to take you on a journey to the Antique Mall of America. This is our first time visiting, and this mall is absolutely huge, and there's lots of cool goodies in here to explore. So we're going to take you along for the ride, and let's get this going. Alright, so we walked into the store and some really great high-end antiques just kind of walking in here.
High-end is right. I mean, look at that. That definitely catches your attention.
And so does the king. He is like such an icon of Las Vegas. And hey, if you remember from our Halfway to Halloween, we did the diamond art photo that we picked up. There's an Elvis one here too.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
They had a lot of like this and that for Halloween. Some things that were maybe not out completely Halloween, but we kind of looked at it because I love this little kitty cat neon light here.
Reminds me of the Neon Sign Museum in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's like a mix of Vegas and Halloween.
Pretty cool Joker record here. That's pretty neat.
And then you had, of course, like this lovely yoga pose skeleton. I like that, you know, kind of that perfect zen right there.
Look at that flexibility.
Right. I wish I had that. I'll probably break my leg. But moving on, you know, I just want to look at and just appreciate all the antiques that are in here. And like we said, this is our first time at the antique mall. And there are so many different things to look at, so many different rooms and little kind of like corners. And, you know, here we found a lot of different, this was really nice. This was kind of reminds me of like the Haunted Mansion Bride.
Yes, it does.
I don't know if that was somebody's own homemade version that they made or if it was something that, you know, was in the store. But I like this, like the creepy doll holding the candle and...
Apparently her name was Lucy, based on the tag.
See? I like that, though. But it's a unique find.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then we kind of moved. We saw a lot of different skulls in this video. I mean, if you counted all the skulls and different skeletons...
It's quite a bit.
Yes, exactly.
And then here, you know, these look like animal skulls, so these are kind of different.
And then these, I think, were human bones.
Ooh.
You know, I saw a tag on there, and I don't know if it was for the bones or if this is maybe from an anatomy kind of skeleton. I would think probably, hopefully, the anatomy, it wouldn't be real, but they were very realistic looking nonetheless. And then you had the witch hat here.
That's a pretty cool hat. I thought that was pretty vintage looking and pretty sweet looking.
This mall had, you know, some kind of a look at this beautiful lamp here, but it had a lot of different oddities that we're going to show you in this video. So if you like oddities, there's something in here I swear I've never seen in my entire life. So stay tuned for that coming up. But this was just such a cool lantern or lamp. And then you have, of course, the Weird Science magazines. Joe and I were a fan of collecting different famous monsters magazines, and we liked how that one was.
Yeah, that was pretty cool cover art on it too, which I thought was neat. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man on this famous monsters magazine. That's pretty cool. $15. Not a bad price.
I think a lot of them were 15. And then, from one of my favorite shows growing up, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And this is a Faith, who is kind of like the good slayer that kind of went into a dark period. She ended up kind of redeeming herself in the end, but one of my favorite characters of the show. And then you got the Hamburger.
The Hamburglar made it in the video.
I like that, you know, and it kind of had like orange and black kind of theme there, so it was kind of honorary Halloween.
Absolutely. This was like a skeleton Nutcracker type thing. That's kind of different.
Jose
Cuervo.
Yeah, so
that's pretty cool.
That's a Vegas find.
Absolutely.
You know, that's very Vegas.
The party never stops, right?
That's right. It never does. That's true. But there is just, look at this mirror here. I mean, these are just some really, really great pieces. And whoa, look at the price tag. But we had such a good time. This was kind of going towards their back room. So they had like a right and left section. And just when I thought I was done, I was like, oh no, here's whole another part of the building. And was just admiring. There were so many different things. Here was kind of reminds me of like Day of the Dead skulls. And you can see it had a lot of like intricate beadwork here. And yeah, I thought there was a lot of great detail.
El Dia de los Muertos.
Yes, and here is Raggedy Andy. And if you know the true Annabelle story, you know it's a Raggedy Ann, Andy. And if there's Andy, there's going to be an Annabelle.
There she is.
It's actually Ann, and I already called her Annabelle.
Hopefully not the Annabelle, but...
I know. Oh my goodness. You can tell that movie scares me.
Absolutely. Creepy.
But they had some good modern kind of horror movie finds here. Had a lot of different kind of bedding. They had posters, and You'll see here some of the items. Like, I like these throw
Chucky.
blankets. Chucky. He's such a nice little guy. A good guy.
Good guy to the end, right?
That's
Friend
right.
to the end.
And this vendor had a lot of like different, you'll kind of see bat jewelry, Halloween. Maybe not. I think a lot was rock and roll themed, but kind of would look kind of spooky as well. And then I saw some skulls here, Jackolantern. And, you know, again, like I said, if you counted all the skulls in this video, that would keep you busy.
Quite a bit. Look at this guy.
I know.
Rising from the dead here, kind of.
Very
Looks
cool.
like you put that on your lawn, like he's, yeah, like to your point, a groundbreaker or coming up through the ground or something. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so much to look at. I like this little kind of iridescent, kind of prismatic skull coffin, and then here's some more skulls hiding.
This place took forever to go through, which was kind of cool. It you know, ate up a decent amount of time, allowed you to kind of look and see everything it had to offer, and I think we'll definitely plan a return when we come back here in January.
Yeah, I think we actually went and it was kind of 106 or 8 degrees outside, so this was a nice
That's
break from the
creepy
heat.
right there.
That's the oddity. I've never seen this, and this is supposed to be Kathy Griffin's head.
Oh my god.
And I looked at it because I don't really see Kathy Griffin, but I was like, that looks realistic, and I looked at it, I'm like, what in the world am I looking at?
That's creepy.
I was much more happy to move on to this vintage little kitty cat. And this is kind of one of the things that kind of reminded me, and the most vintage kind of looking Halloween item. I like that wall decor right there, and it wasn't bad. I think it was only like $7.
That's
so
not a bad price.
No, it was adorable.
Freddy.
Nancy. Wasn't it Nancy?
Yeah,
I was
Nancy.
going after Nancy.
Absolutely.
That's a creepy movie. Tell us your favorite kind of horror movie that, if you're a horror spooky movie fan, what is your favorite villain or movie series?
You don't see a lot of Freddy stuff either, so I thought this was kind of unique in that fact itself.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, you don't, but he is such a great villain. Classic Wes Craven character. This was like a whole box of different little plushes here. And then they had, like, this vendor had even, you'll see some inflatables. So, you know, Joe and I, we don't really have too many of the inflatables. Kind of don't really decorate too much with them, but there are some really creative ones. And this is kind of, you get the whole pumpkin patch here.
Oh, yeah.
And then this little pumpkin.
Oh,
He's so cute.
Looks like a sad little guy.
He's cute. I wanted to turn that frown upside down, but I was like, oh.
He needs a new home.
He needs a new home. And, you know, there was just like a little bit of Halloween kind of spread throughout this store here. It wasn't definitely an all one booth. It was kind of spread all around, which was fun to look at.
I can't wait to see what some of these antique places are going to have now that Summerween's kind of in full swing and we're approaching fall. I'm super excited to see what comes in.
Me too. I think we're on a good path and a good start. And looking at this, we found this vendor again had a ton of different lighting, because that's so important. If you want to create that spooky scene, you got to have the right lighting.
Absolutely.
Here was like this little like pumpkin bat purse. I've never seen that before, and you know, it looked like it was lightly used. Had a little tag on here. Let's see, I think it was $20 something, so not bad. I was like, that's pretty adorable, especially if you want to even do a cosplay or just have something fun for Halloween.
Should be walking through Salem with that purse.
Yeah.
Come
Why
fall.
not? You never know. And that was a goofy little pumpkin right there. So now we're kind of on the pumpkin trend here. I feel like this was an adorable little resin statue with 2 ghosts coming out of it. I like this here. And it's, you know, it's just like we went from a ton of skulls that we were seeing to now it's like the orange alert. But coming up here, you're going to see some uranium glass. Ooh. I love this. It's not like a total Halloween product or...
It's creepy looking though.
It is creepy, and I think it would look cool if you had a blacklit room and then you had this kind of on some of your shelves.
Really pops too, look at that.
This color was super vibrant. I mean, I think sometimes it depends on the black light and
for sure,
you know, where you're at, but this one was popping, so I liked it.
Alien looking skull there, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we're breaking away from the traditional skull to the
extraterrestrials.
Alien. That's right. And here was kind of, I thought that was a cookie jar, and it was actually a purse.
Wow, $80 on it too.
Yeah, it was unique. Never saw one like that. Here was another little skeleton kind of just hanging around in like this little, almost looked like a shadow box type.
$110.
Yeah, it was cute. I actually got this skeleton. It was an anatomy skeleton from like the 1950s at an antique shop last year for like $15, and that's like one of my favorite little things to decorate with. And you have this little kitty cat sitting on some books here. It was reminding us of Binks. We were missing her, and you know, definitely she's such a good kitty. And then here's some Lee Mack Spooky Town. Joe actually found this for me in here.
Yeah, these are pretty cool. I mean, looks like some older sets, some older houses and accessories and stuff. And again, if we could take it all home, we would. But, you know, being that we were on the road and traveling and didn't have the adequate space to take it back makes it kind of tough.
These chandeliers were so beautiful. I love those. They're shining bright like a diamond.
Absolutely.
But this vendor here, this is really cool. Different pillows. You're going to see one of my favorite ones here. Like all the villains right there kind of playing
poker. That is awesome. Look at that. You got Chucky, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, the Leprechaun too. Warwick Davis, Leprechaun. That's pretty cool.
I wonder who won.
Yeah, I know.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Like, who do you think, if you had all your villains playing a poker game, who would you put your bet on winning?
Freddy would cut the deck.
I think a lot of them would.
Oh yeah.
And then you have, like, here was like a cute little, remind me of like a little Boyd's Bear type with the ghost coming out with the little jack-o'-lantern. And this looked vintage, like probably something maybe 80s, 90s. Overall, there was just so much to look at. I think that's going to do it for this video. We didn't really have any treasures that we took home, but it's something that we're looking forward to coming back.
We'll definitely be back. We'll be there to bring you guys the footage. And in the meantime, guys, remember to always stay spooky.
Trick or treat.